Disclaimer. This podcast showcases business partners and friends that engage in lively conversations about books over many drinks. Content may not be suitable for viewers under 21.
All right. Hello. Welcome.
Hi.
Welcome to another episode of Books and Booze. Yes. Grab a good book, get some great booze, and grab a good buddy to share it with. Let's do the toasting test. Yes. So this week, which one I got? You got salute? I got salute. Cheers. Cheers. Yeah. Yes. So we are, okay, this will have to get edited out. Greenhouse. Artisanal gin. All right. Let's do this again. Hi, guys. Hey. Welcome to another Books and Booze episode. Stop. Why did that get me so hard? Look, Sam. So good, Cattleman. All right. Here, we'll put this back down here. Right? Okay. Hey, guys. Hi, guys. I'm Kristin.
I'm Lailani.
And welcome to Books and Booze.
Do I say Books and Booze together?
Yeah.
So which one is this?
Green Door.
Green Door Distillery?
Green Door Bicycles. I need it to be on that page. Another thing to edit. I'm sorry, Kev.
Happy accidents.
We're going to start one more time. I'm so sorry. Okay, put it down. Oh, if we're starting one more time. Okay. Greenhouse gin. Okay. Hey, guys.
Hi, guys.
Welcome to another episode. I'm Kristin.
I'm Lailani.
And this is Books and Booze. So it's a new month.
Yes.
And we have a new spirit. This is Greenhouse Gin, and it's produced out of Houston, Texas.
Okay.
Applied through Dynasty Spirits.
Okay.
And a gentleman named Devin Odell has several small labels that he is, I guess, representing or marketing.
Okay.
And yeah, it's exciting. So this is one of them. And are you ready to taste it?
Oh, God, it smells delicious.
It smells amazing, right?
Oh, this is great.
I love it. There's a good,
It's a fruity flavor.
fruity, but also, well, it's a gin, so it's going to be herbaceous.
Yeah, but I don't taste it.
I'm overly.
Well, usually it's a lot of juniper. Right? I was going to say usually it's a lot of juniper, but this is very berry forward. Yeah, and a Jolly Rancher,
But in a good way.
really good. So good. This is so good. Oh no. Oh no, Lailani's getting a sidecar. Sidecar.
Oh my goodness. Delicious. And then so what I made for us today was kind of a blackberry basil smash.
Okay.
So I took blackberries and basil and sugar and lime and I muddled it and then poured it over ice and added a little more soda water. So
Happy I get to finally drink it. It's staring at me for like 15 minutes.
all right. So cheers, my
Cheers.
refreshing.
Ooh.
Do you like?
I do. I got the basil right away.
That's basil fresh from my yard. It's growing right next to my Saige plant.
Oh man, this is really good.
Yay! I'm so glad you liked it.
Came up with it? You came up
Well,
with
no, I mean, smashes are a staple at any bar. But yeah, just blackberries were in abundance in the grocery store. Here in Florida, my herbs grow year round, and basil is just exploded. So,
yeah,
let's do some basil.
really, really good, guys. Basil with this blackberry.
This gin.
Like the perfect heaven and match made in heaven. I was going to get it right eventually.
So, love that. And then the book. What book did you pick for us?
Pumpkin Plant.
Yes, amazing. By Mike, how do we pronounce it?
Michalowicz.
Thank you. So the whole reason we launched this channel, y'all, is to really kind of take you on a journey with us. literature and libations, in hopes to just kind of inspire you and help you along your path of business leadership, business ownership, and in life in general. Just show that business can be fun.
It's fun. Yeah.
I mean, look at us. So I need to refill this. I'm going to add mine to my drink here. I enjoy. Okay. So Pumpkin Plan. What an amazing book. So I like how he references remembering when you go looking for pumpkins, and there you go. You're like at the pumpkin patch and you see, these rows and rows and rows of pumpkins. And then there's the big one, the big juicy pumpkin. And it's perfect. And it is bigger than all the others. And it almost makes you forget, like, all the other ones don't even look as amazing as that one perfect one. So he takes us on a journey in this book through really how pumpkin growers grow the biggest, perfect, prize-winning pumpkin.
Yeah, the competition pumpkin.
The competition, yep. And he helps you align it to things you can and should do to truly grow your business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because pumpkin growers have a systematic approach of how to cultivate the best, biggest, brightest pumpkin that they will submit in competition.
Yep.
And so he kind of uses that as an analogy to field how can you do that in your business.
Yep. So Mike takes us back to his beginning, where he and a friend, like so many, started business over drinks.
Who did that we know of?
At least with books and booze. Right. And they're sitting there, they have a drink, they come up with a business idea, and they launch it. And then in order to try to keep their head above water, because like we read in E-Myth, sometimes people are good at doing something, but they're not necessarily good at running a business.
Yeah.
So that's what happened, is they knew how to do what it is their business was, but they didn't know necessarily how to run their business. And they were just saying yes to every single customer possible. Didn't matter how much of a headache that customer gave them. Didn't matter how far away. I think he gave an example that he drove 6 hours to plug somebody's mouse in. Right? So they were just saying yes to everything. But they were near broke. I mean, they were working like dogs,
Well, and it gets to the point where, you're prioritizing the dollars going into the bank account and not the quality of the dollar earned. And that's where he really kind of shines in this book, is he's putting that in perspective that, yes, business is about earning money, but it should be the byproduct of business. It shouldn't be the main focus.
Absolutely. So we get into this whole story of Mike and his friend and how this business is completely running him. And then we also learn about how he meets somebody named Frank at the Chamber of Commerce. And y'all, if you aren't doing like networking things, you need to. As business owners and entrepreneurs and even just business leaders, it is so important to meet with others.
Yep.
Doesn't even need to be in your same industry.
No, it's just we talk about conversing with like-minded individuals. That doesn't mean like-minded in your industry or the category that you've decided to sell in. Like-minded as in entrepreneurs all have a similar spirit. And when you're able to feed each other's spirit, great things come out of it.
Absolutely. So he meets Frank, and Frank basically suggests to him that he needs to cut out half of his clients.
Yeah. Ouch. Yeah.
And so, me coming from a background of customer service and just always doing what you can for your customer. And if you treat your customer well, they'll be loyal to you, right? Having kind of wanting to approach it from a different angle. The thought of divorcing some of your customers seems like, why would you do that? Why would anybody advise that you do that? So I'm like reading this book, I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun. I'm going to disagree all ways in this, and I'm going to have a reason. I'm going to have examples. I was ready for a fight. And what happened? I kept reading. I will say, at least so I'm not all the way through the book yet, but I would say there's a way that you can approach and handle your customers that manage them just like you would manage your employees. And if you set boundaries and expectations, then you don't have those horrible customers that run you and take advantage of you. So a lot of what he's saying in this book is those customers who take advantage of you are
And when you've been client and you've been caving into their demands.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the boundaries. And it's very true. If you put up your boundaries, right, you're telling the customer what you will and will not do. Okay. But let's be realistic. The divorce will still happen. But you won't be the one that made that choice.
Exactly. They would weed themselves out. So then Mike begins to take this into a conversation he had with a prize-winning pumpkin grower. And he learned truly what it is that pumpkin growers who are trying to grow these prize pumpkins, right? You're just trying to grow a whole bunch and you're going for mass quantity.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily follow all of these steps. But if you want to grow the big one, the big money maker, then they do talk about, obviously, you got to plant the seeds, you have to water it, you have to care for the soil and everything like that. But then as other pumpkins start growing, you very quickly, I guess, identify the good one. And one of the analogies Mike aligns us to is you got to get rid of the diseased ones and the sickly ones and the ones that just aren't, that just going to suck life from the vein so that the big one can grow.
So part of what the systematic approach that the farmers took is that you would have a bunch of, say you have a handful of pumpkin seeds. So you'll go and sow them into the ground, right? Plant them and there'll be multiple rows of these pumpkin seeds that have been planted. And just like Kristin said, within a certain amount of time, they'd be able to figure out which one was going to give them the harvest they were looking for or not. But the key is, one of the things I like that he pointed out is that they went broad. They planted a lot, right? Because I think in business, we all kind of do that. We go broad because we're still trying to find our lane. But once you figure out your lane, is niching down. And that's pretty much what the pumpkin growers did, is they planted a bunch to give themselves better chances of success. But right away, within a certain time period, they knew whether or not this particular vine was going to give them the harvest they were looking for or not. And they would, if it wasn't growing at a rate they needed it to, or if it was showing signs of disease, they chopped it, literally would chop it off.
Yep.
Because the resources that they were putting towards that particular vine could be used towards the ones that were already showing promise.
Absolutely. And so Mike tried this with his company, with his business partner. And, they had to make lists. And the nice thing about this book is he actually does take you along the journey. He calls it working the plan.
I love it.
And then he even, I guess, has some templates and stuff, if to help with certain lists that he expects you to do and activities. But he literally weeded out some of those customers that were just really running him versus him running the business. And once he did that, they had time to focus on becoming even better for their true core customers. And yes, they even filed into more of a niche to really go after what it is that their top customers needed from them. And that just helped their business explode in a great way.
Yes.
So the way he kind of wraps up the first bit of this, and when it comes to working the plan, he does this really every few concepts. His working the plan for this one, and I'm like, oh, no wonder Lailani loves this book. He says, you first have to start with your why.
And I see the common thread in these books
all the time.
And now that's why I encourage listeners like, what's just the book we should start with? I'm like, I know. Because it's why. Yeah, it's why.
Absolutely. Our first podcast, our start with why. And every book that we've read, and even if you go back and read some of these old historic books or things written by people from even hundreds of years ago, they suggest coming into what your soul desires or what your why is. So our first work, the plan, is to really find, make sure you're aligned with your why, because that is going to help you with how you continue to drive your business and help you really align with your customers, which he gets into in later chapters. But what I like with his work, the plan, he then, throughout this book, takes different small businesses that are having a challenge standing up against their big competitors. So his first small business example that he says, he's like, imagine you're a small airline, right? And it's really hard to get people to leave the big names that they know and trust, or maybe have reward and mild point board. So he's like, how do you do this? So in this particular example, they found that really their core customer was a business person for the small airline concept. Therefore, why would they offer snacks?
Yep.
And why would they offer in-flight movies and kid movies if they don't even want to cater to kids?
Exactly.
So that ended up weeding out the customers they didn't necessarily want. So they saved money on snacks. They saved money on
in-flight
entertainment, right? And they were able to put money into, one, making it really easy for commuters, business people, to just city hop. They even worked out a partnership with a local, I think, church or school. Where people could park and then get picked up and shuttled directly to the gate.
Yeah, and what research they did is they really started looking into who was taking up their most of their time, customer service wise and resources. And they found it was typically commuters that were only using them because of really cheap flights that they're offering on special, or they absolutely needed to because there was nothing else
available.
And they weren't using them frequently. And then they started diving into who was willing to pay more money and what was it that they actually needed.
Right.
And that was when they found out it was the commuter, it was a business person who one of the biggest issues they had was that they'd have to go through TSA and it'll take a long time to get through security. And then actually getting on the plane and the boarding and all that, they would waste a couple hours that could be better spent working.
Absolutely.
And so they said, okay, well, let's cut everyone else who's only using us on occasion and asking for all these freebie things because they're expecting it from a commercial airline. And let's cater more to these clients that are willing to pay more money, right?
For convenience,
efficiency. Yes, exactly. And that's when you're talking about the commuter.
Yep.
And that's when they just kind of hone in and focus on that niche. So again, broad, right?
And then they went off what's not working.
Yeah, they were catering to a lot of different people and then figuring out what's not working, what's working, and actually who's their end client, what they want to serve.
That aligned with their why. Absolutely. And they even went insofar as to do like partnerships with technology companies. And so randomly on various flights, whoever was on those flights would get like to try different business technology things, which is really awesome. So I thought there was a really great example of, okay, you're not necessarily saying, I'm not going to take care of you, customer, but that customer isn't really who we need for our business. So how do we find out who our customer is and cater to them? Exactly. Yeah. So then as he progresses through this book, we meet yet another person who's in business turmoil, end of the world. We meet Bruce, right? And his business is, I guess, making like $700,000 a year, which you would think that's amazing.
Depends.
But
net profit wise.
Anyways, right. He's in debt. He's borrowing from his parents, and he's not sure really where his next payment's going to come from for the space. I guess he had like an event space or something like that. So, Mike gets with him and again, tries to look at, okay, what vendors do you have using your event space? What type of customers? Okay, these people aren't making you any money. You need to cut them out. Well, it sounds like Bruce doesn't want to do that. Okay. So I mean, maybe we'll learn as we go through the book. I'm honestly not sure. But it's the point.
Most people are reluctant. I think most business owners, if you're telling me, okay, right away, Lailani, you need to go ahead and cut half the vendors that I've spent blood, sweat, and tears gaining, right? I'm going to be reluctant too. And so that's what Bruce was going through. It was like, well, yeah, but I worked so hard to get this one. And this one you start rationalizing why this person or this vendor or supplier or customer needs to stay within your organization.
Absolutely. And he even talks about how Bruce had this mindset that I just needed one more good client.
Oh gosh, yes. Like me, I just need one more big sale, or if I got this is going to change my whole life. Yeah, no. So it was really impactful what he says there. And I see that, you know what? We're going to put it in the comments. When you guys buy this book, I'm going to put down which page I want you guys to read, because that one is impactful. I think every business owner, we come in and we always think the next big thing is going to change our paradigm, when really your paradigm starts up here, right? It doesn't start in this.
Well, I think that's interesting that Mike has you start with your why. Your first, work the plan is to get realigned with your why and your whole business purpose so that you can then better align with your customers. He likes lists, but not as much as our last book. I do like lists. I like lists. But he talks about the 3 stages that entrepreneurs go through as their business is in a state of collapse. So familiar? First is denial of the struggle. Oh, no, right? They just, no, just one more client. Yeah, the first, denial of the struggle. Second is to accept stress is just going to be a way of life. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs that we meet, they're kind of, especially right, just, it's second, running a business is stressful. Running a business has its stressful moments. And yes, as your business goes through the seasonal ebbs and flows that it naturally will go through, when as you come into summer and you're worried about, the stresses of summer and the things that could ruin your harvest, or you're coming into winter, things are at your lowest point, though, that is naturally going to be stressful. But if you have systems in place and forecasting and planning, you can hopefully ride the stress and see the hope and yes through a lot faster. But when you just exist in a cycle of, this is my life now,
it's a perpetual. And then when you start accepting it and you start thinking that's the new normal, it's like a bad relationship,
Mm-hmm.
You're in an abusive relationship and you think it's okay because that's just the way it is. It'll change eventually.
No. And that's what he says the last step is defeatism and belief that everything's outside of your hands.
Yeah.
That I'm like, okay. And again, it's a mindset. Shift the paradigm. Okay, what can I do today that'll change the rest of my business trajectory, my life trajectory? Absolutely. So, we kind of see how he recommends getting rid of unnecessary pumpkin so that your big pumpkin can grow. And I think what we've seen in the first parts here was really getting rid of either unnecessary customers, either they don't align with your why, or the customers that are just draining you, right? Those ones that make you drive 6 hours to plug in a mouse, that can't be profitable, especially with today's gas prices.
Yeah.
So, and then he talks about kind of working the dream. Like we go through it. His second work the dream is to revisit the dream that inspired you, and really dig into why you're doing. He really harps in on this, which is great.
He needs to. And I like how his very first chapter is all around that. And it's true. You will have business cycles. You will be stressed. You will have all the 3 levels he just talked about. 3 levels, 3 lists, whatever. You will go through every single one of those. I don't know, and I haven't met an entrepreneur yet who hasn't visited at least one of those multiple times.
Yeah. And the cycle.
And it is. But when you know why you started it in the first place and you know why you want to continue doing it, it helps you manage that stress
differently. And work towards getting out of that stress versus feeling like you're in that hamster wheel.
And you're able to reflect back on the way things have happened for you already, and you come at it.
And I learn.
Well, you come at it through a lens of, I have done so much. I feel good where I'm at as well. So look, that glass half full. So when you're stressed out, you want to be half empty. But when you take a lens of saying, man, I've really accomplished a lot. I'm still living my main purpose. I'm still living the dream that I wanted and set for myself. Then you come at it saying, you know what, things are not that bad for myself. I'm just going to give myself a little breather and just say, hey, it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah,
absolutely. Right? Now, I like his example of an online jewelry company.
So I just want to point out that in this book was fantastic. He addressed that most people and most of the objectives that business owners come up with when they read a book or something, say, I can't apply it to my business because of blank, fill in the blank, right? Most people come in, most entrepreneurs, business owners, we come in with the debate attitude, right? And so defensive, right? Because if you're attacking our character, the first thing you do is you put up a wall of defense. In this book, though, what I like is that he says, listen, before you go and say you cannot cut out half your customers and only run with your runners, let me show you various case studies and multiple different industries where this can be applied. So the first one was talking about an airline. This one we're diving into
the online jewelry company.
Online jewelry company.
And I love this because, I know you with Be Chic, and I also worked with a dear friend of mine as she launched a division of her jewelry company for brides specifically, because what had happened, this was not her story in here, but it almost was very similar. It might as well have been. Yeah. What I really liked is, this this company was really having a hard time finding their voice because you even have said, jewelry's really saturated. Fashion is saturated. And it's very competitive for price and value for price and things like that. So, or quality for price. And what they ended up doing is going after some of their best clients and saying, what do you need ideally? Like, what would make your life easier with jewelry? And several of them said, we get these brides that come in and they have a hard time finding matching jewelry pieces for their bridal party, which, having worked in the bridal industry, this is legit. 100% yes. And there's a very small handful of jewelry companies that cater specifically to this. And what this particular company ended up doing was creating a line and
specific for brides and their bridal party.
Exactly. And made it affordable because a lot of brides, they need to keep sometimes, attendant gifts at $20 or $30 because they're doing so much more for them as well.
Exactly.
So you want something nice for your bridesmaids. I mean, these are your besties for life, right?
Yeah.
But
you want it to look nice too, You don't want it to be like the bargain bin Claire's stuff, Not anything about Claire's, but just say, the Five Below. You want it to be a little bit nicer.
So anyways, I loved how he's taking us through these different industries, right?
Yeah.
And then I really like how he where I'm wrapping this particular episode up, where he really talks about you digging into your, what he calls AOI.
Yes.
Area of innovation.
I like to say interest too.
Yes, absolutely. And this is really how you can weed out things in your business. Mm-hmm. You can weed out procedures. You can weed out systems. You can weed out customers. You can weed out products through your area of innovation. Because he really talks about, with this one, it's all about where do you really show up as a brand? And he mentions really 3 areas that you can show up. And it's either going to be in the quality game, in the price game, or in the convenience game.
Yeah, not all 3.
Not all 3. And so
it took me time to learn that one too.
Yes, and I love that he dug into who he did. I mean, he uses Mercedes as a label to represent the quality game. I think we all get that, no question. And then he takes Walmart as the price game, which I agree absolutely. And he even gave an example when Walmart tried to get into another game. They just really couldn't hold up against Netflix. They tried some sort of video delivery.
They're sure as shit not in the convenience game.
That's just the trying with delivering it. I'm not complaining going to Walmart ever. 20 minutes to check out. Okay. Anyways, and then this is what got me. McDonald's.
Yeah. This one too.
Because I think it's in the price game.
I thought so too. Until
McDonald's stays in their lane in the convenience game. It's about being able to go in and get out quickly.
Yeah. You want to pick up, you don't want to cook and your kid's hungry. Well, let's go through drive-through. And they actually have a timer that times how long it takes from the moment you order your food
until you're driving away.
Yep. Yeah.
Love that. Convenience. And it's so true because if you take how much a family of 4 might spend when they go to McDonald's, if you take that same dollar amount and go to the grocery store, you could get like various things Mike was saying, which would equal the same amount. So they're not really in the price game. They're in the convenience game.
Yeah, I like it. It actually makes you reflect back on your own, what we do. What I did in Be Chic was for the longest time, I was trying to tackle quality and price. And then I read this book. I'm like, no, dude, I got to tackle quality. And quality is going to be about the story.
Yeah. So there we have it. That's kind of the first, force of the book. And I'm making this work through the month of April for you. So we kind of divvy these up. This is the first about 50 pages, just as you're reading along with us. But zero in on your AOI. Area of innovation.
And I'm going to point out to anyone who, and to everyone who's watching this, as we go on this journey, right now, we're going to have part 2, 3, and 4 of this book. Go to pumpkinplan.org. There will be printable sheets that you guys can do and fill out along the way as we go through this journey together. Yeah, so pumpkinplan.org. He'll be going through the list, and there'll be, like I said, fillable PDFs that you can kind of noodle on and follow along with us.
Absolutely. So amazing. Thank you for recommending this. Like I said, my first 10 pages, I was ready to fight. I was like, oh, this is going to be a great podcast because we're going to argue on this, and maybe we'll even flip the tables and chairs. She told me, she's like, I'm a factor. She's like, oh, this book, I've got a lot to say about this book. I was like, okay. I knew it was going to trigger you because customer service. I mean, that's where I found my voice is through my customers. Well, and the thing is, most corporate training is all around how you retain your customer. Absolutely.
But you want to retain the right one.
Oh, absolutely. And I think looking back on it, these amazing corporate companies that I've worked for, they have a very strong brand presence. So they are only attracting their ideal customer. So they
weeded them out anyways because they figured out who their core customer is. They're only focusing on that core customer. So it makes your job easier as far as customer experience. Yeah,
absolutely.
Agree.
So awesome. Thank you. Love this book so far.
Glad you're loving it. And I'm glad we're going on this journey together. I'm glad I could talk to someone about it.
Right? Yeah, that's so good. And I'm really loving how he's digging into the different small businesses and how they can pick their AOI and weed out what they don't need, cut off those so they can grow their big pumpkin.
Yeah. And stay tuned because he covers a lot of industries. So
yes,
whatever industry you're in, I'm pretty sure we're covering it in the upcoming episodes.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Well, my friends, thank you for joining us. Grab a good book, get some awesome booze, and grab an amazing buddy to share it with. Thanks for joining us.
Bye, guys.
Bye. I had to pace myself. Yeah, it hit hard. No, not for that reason. I didn't have a sidecar and I had to pace myself.